and I'll be discussing professional ethics. So let's start. And what is professional ethics? First, we have to define the word professional and the word ethics. So we can define professional as relating to or belonging to a profession. Profession means a skill or a talent that you have mastered, that you're certified to. You're like a graphic designer in a company. You're doing art or doing design in your skill, then you have to certify it. So you became a graphic designer. And the value of it, of having a design that is unique to a company, makes you a worthy profession. It's a worthy professional like that. And being a professional suggests things such as being qualified, however, however defined, and practicing in a definable area, having expertise based on a deep level of knowledge, and having a commitment to area of practice. Okay, so what is ethics? This is a simple. At its simplest, ethics is a system of moral principles. Ethics is concerned with what is good for individuals and society, and also is described as moral philosophy. So philosophy means a concept, and moral is like a culture. We have this culture, we have this moral and culture that is being related to each other, that you have to follow it because it's the opinion of greater good. Okay, so let's define professional ethics. Professional ethics are principles that govern the behavior of a person or a group in a business environment. Like values, professional ethics provides rules on how a person should act towards other people and institutions in such an environment. Okay, being professional is being professional in the business environment. So you have to follow this code of conduct, this ethics, these moral principles that you have to uh, that the a company or their business or establishment governs it. That uh, made the policy. Uh, okay, values and principles. First, as an IT, you have to be you have to be you have to maintain integrity. That's why this is needed. So first topic is public interest and maintaining integrity. IT professionals must protect the public interest and discharge with integrity. All goods and services owed to the public, members, other IT pros and clients. Members must carry out their work with due regard for public health and public safety and environment. The obligation to protect the public interest is paramount and must prevail when there is a conflict with other obligations. Okay, maintain integrity. So this is important to the IT. It's mostly for ITs or basically on uh, people who are working with databases or their transactions. You have to be you have to you have to be careful on the data you are handling. Like this, like the explanation of number two, members must carry out their work with due regard for public health and public safety and the environment. No, you have to protect this kind of this kind of data within the identity of a person may be may beca- may be in danger because of this data. If you have one if you have a data if you have a data within the internet that you have hacked or got you penetrated from a company, then you use it for harmful for purposes that may cause them public health and its public or social safety, right? It will give them anxieties and either depression. Okay, demonstrate competence and quality of service. Yes, we have to be a qualitative in an IT environment. Data should be in qualitative mostly, but we have to use quantitative and qualitative also. Members must provide quality of service at least equal to that which other IT professionals would expect of a competent IT pro in this like situation. Members owe their client a duty to be competent to perform any IT services to others to undertaken on such party in this party's behalf. Members must not undertake matter without honestly feeling competent to have them. Okay, let's face it. Sometimes we have to decide on something that emotion is undergoing in your mind. So on on this handling of data, you should always like you should always eliminate uh, the biased, as we say that uh, the facts and the information is always on the side of the data, not your feelings or not the emotions, so that the quality of service may be fair and not biased. Maintain confidential information on 5G. This is what I'm telling you. The confidential information on 5G. Members have a duty to hold strict confidence all information concerning the business and affairs of the client and should not divulge such information. Members cannot render effective services to clients unless there is full communication between them. Okay, we have this terms and conditions. In like you're logging in a website, you're registering it. We, if I get a call, this is the Republic Act 10173 Section C. Yeah, you should always transact with the client's presence within it is fair, and you should also um, you should also not you should also not you should also um, open the form. Like if you have a if you have a data that is not being that is being processed but not overlooking by the client, that's illegal. Like you know, what's my credit number in here? Credit details in here, but the form doesn't doesn't show that the credit number is being transacted in the moment, but uh, in backend services, it's processing. So that's dangerous for a client. So every data input that is being that is being um, input in this in the form, you should always you should always present it to the client or the user, because that is an ethical doing of an IT or being an IT or being a programmer. Mostly in the programming skills. You should there's so phishing, there's a keylogging that you script someone's text box or either input field, that if they input their for example the data that's being inputted is password, then you can get the data by way of the scripting. Avoid conflicts of interest. Members must avoid situations where there is significant risk that is interest of the member may conflict with the public and or client. Yes, you should avoid conflict of interest. You should not play with the data that you have you are handling. Uphold responsibility to the IT professional. As the subtitle uh, say, you should uphold responsibility. As an IT, members must assist in maintaining the integrity of a company and IT profession and should practice in its activities. Members have an obligation to support and advance the interests of a company and the IT profession, and to the respect the rights and professional aspirations of their colleagues. Yes, This is one of the most important also. The team must one mistake of the team can um, can ruin the team, also the team in general. Some 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 teams can be dangerous. One part of the team, example for me, and I have a group. I'm doing illegal, and they're doing their best, but I'm an illegal programmer, so I I hack someone's data from the, or I've been doing an unethical programming, so the team is in danger. So let's prevent that. Avoid unethical behavior. Help eliminate improper behavior or conduct which is bad for the reputation of a person. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you for. Protect public interest through following code of ethics principles. Takes takes action and improve their interest based on truth and fairness. Yes. Ethics in IT. What is an ethics in IT? So data, information that is stored, posted, maintained, and transmitted and copied. This is the most common in ITs because you always process data. Functional unit. Units authorized to access or used in IT as resource. Yes. Intellectual property right. Copyright ownership, fair software and others. Yes. You should always consider copywriting ownership. You should always have a citation for the owner or the company. IT resource that it can be that can be used in every data. Mostly of today because we are using email softwares, mostly malwares and other. So in general, you should always overlook the data you're handling, the confidential information. You have all the right to handle the right to handle the data. You should authenticate the higher level of your company that I'm using this data for something, not not hacking someone. You should always you should always follow the code of conduct. Every company has its own policies. So uh, as an IT professional, you should all as an IT professional or either IT or you're just studying IT ethics or professional ethics, you should always have a conscience on what they're doing, and also you should always have a fairness in some ways. Even you're with even you're with honest with someone, then that you have to process its data. You should always consider eliminating your emotions in the field of work. Especially you have the advantage to do it because you have the data that uh, can be dangerous to him because confidential information, his location, everything, contact number. You can all use that information to bribe him, to harm him. So be always aware on something you are doing with the data because that data is the most important in IT. Okay. Thank you for listening. This is Tommy Manuel Thank you.